que não estraguem o despacho.
Sim, senhor. Vai dar certo.
Hall and make a toast together for their new helmsman. The 9 red scabbards appear, see that the Straw Hats have broken through the Beast's pirates' first line of defense, join their allies in the raid. Kid and Luffy race to Onigashima, with Jinbei controlling the Thousand Sunny. Meanwhile, Raizo briefs the plan. Kid and Luffy would enter through the front gate as decoys, while Kinemon and Denjiro each lead another decoy group through the mountain path. Starting the plan, Kinemon sets sail while the Heart Pirates go underwater in their submarine. The allies enter to find Onigashima vibrantly illuminated, with the guards at a banquet and unprepared for enemy attacks. Usopp knocks out the few intoxicated guards on lookout, allowing the others to safely disembark. However, they destroy their return ships, making it impossible for them to escape if they had to. They split up into their 2 decoy groups. Kinemon uses a devil fruit technique, Kin-chan Gofukuten, to create a gate that gives disguises. Kid, Killer, and the Straw Hats walk through the gate, disguising them all as Beast's pirates. Kinemon warns that if the disguises are damaged or removed, they will transform back into regular outfits. He makes his final remarks before going forward. Although Orochi believes that the 9 red scabbards have been stopped, the raid on Onigashima officially begins. Kinemon leads the eastern forces while Denjiro leads the southern forces up the mountain paths. Kid decides to go his own way and barge into the island head-on, and Luffy follows him with Zoro. They enter the party hall and find a raucous party being thrown. Although the 9 red scabbards are concerned, Law reassures them that it was part of the plan, as Luffy and Kid were meant to be the first decoys at the front gate. Kanjuro leads Momonosuke down a secret passageway to Orochi, but gets lost in its maze-like tunnels. Momonosuke sees a viable knife on the floor. Frankie reveals 2 new vehicles, a motorcycle called the Kurosai FRU-4, and a tank called the Brachio Tank Vai. They are disappointed that Luffy and Zoro went into the island on their own. They all get in the vehicles and ride up the mountain paths, except for Robin and Jinbei, who walk up the mountain. A masked figure watches Robin and Jinbei. Ulti throws another temper tantrum in front of the Tobirapo before they are finally summoned by Kaido. Meanwhile, Zoro attempts to blend in with the Beast Pirates, but one of the partygoers mocks the people of Okobori Town who could not afford to drink as lavishly as them. Angry, Zoro force-feeds the person alcohol until he faints. At the party, Luffy also sees Beast Pirates wastefully dumping Oshiruko on the floor. This angers him as he remembers when he fed Tama Oshiruko, who accepted it gratefully. The Tobirapo goes to see Kaido, unsure why they were summoned. King reveals that he is the one who summoned them, unhappy that Sasaki and Who's Who are attempting to take his spot as an all-star. The Tobirapo were told to wait because Kaido wanted them to meet Big Mom, who is still getting ready for the party. An officer and Flying Squirrel Smile user, Bao Huang, appears. She reveals that Kaido will make a surprise announcement sometime during the party. Kaido tells Sasaki and Who's Who to capture his escaped son, Yamato. He offers them a chance to become an all-star if they can bring him back safely. They accept the mission. Kid, who is in the party, attacks some of the partygoers and demands to see Kaido. Zoro also picks a fight with some of them, defeating them with fists and swords. Luffy, who is angry that the guests are dumping Oshiruko on each other, drinks some of the soup to avoid wasting it. When one of the partygoers kicks over a pot onto the floor, Luffy angrily uses a Gear 3rd attack to defeat him. The attack alerts the attention of the partygoers, who panic and retreat. Kid and Killer take advantage of the ruckus to advance. Meanwhile, Luffy tells Zoro what happened, who decides to join him. Queen watches them from above, disappointed that Luffy escaped the prisoner mine. Scratchman Apu notices and recognizes Luffy and Zoro, and he decides to play a song on his turnstable, while Luffy and Zoro continue to wreak havoc on the Beast Pirates. Queen realizes that Babanuki lied to him when he reported that Luffy and Kid were safely behind bars. Queen calls out to all the partygoers, offering a spot in the Tobirapo to the person who captures Luffy. Kid remembers when he met Apu and Hawkins. They formed an alliance together as 3 members of the Worst Generation. However, that was when Kaido jumped off a sky island and into Kid's lair. Kaido was upset that 2 members of the Worst Generation took down his supplier of smile fruits. Apu, who was allied with Kaido all along, helped capture Kid and imprison him. Luffy and Zoro battle several gifters, but Apu intervenes with his devil fruit ability. He strikes his chest, creating a sound wave that strikes Luffy like a punch. Another attack slices Zoro in the chest with an invisible force. Luffy is momentarily knocked out by Apu, creating an explosion. Although they remove their disguises to fight better, Apu still defeats them, sending them flying into the air. Kid decides to intervene himself, using his devil fruit ability to attract the metal around him. He creates a gigantic metallic arm and uses the Punk Gibson attack to slam Apu into a wall, breaking his glasses. Kid confronts Apu about his betrayal, but Apu fights back, slashing Kid. Queen, shocked that Kid has also escaped from the prisoner mine, gives his men permission to kill him. They are attacked by one of the numbers, Hacha, a mace-wielding giant. A fired explosive arrow knocks Hacha back, allowing Kid, Luffy, and Zoro to escape to the castle while Wire and Heat hold Hacha back. However, they are pursued by Apu's sound attacks. Killer suggests covering their ears. This makes them immune to Apu's attacks, since they only work if the target can hear the sound waves. Kid, Luffy, and Zoro continue to advance to Kaido's castle. Big Mom, who is getting ready to join the party, receives word that her family is unharmed and are on their way. The Big Mom pirates, led by Prospero, ride up the waterfall, approaching the country. Chopper's group with the tank joins Kinemon's forces up the East Mountain Path. Kinemon discusses the plan. The group will split into another two groups. One group will enter through the side of the Skull Dome and the other through the back. This will allow them to attack Orochi and Kaido from two angles. Denjiro leads the southern forces. The rest of the 9 red scabbards are under the sea, and Robin, Jinbei, Frankie, and Brook infiltrate the castle in disguise. Although Nami and Carrot's group encounters enemy beasts pirates, they use their good looks to charm their way through. Unfortunately, Kinemon's group finds that the island blueprints were out of date, and the castle has been expanded since it was made. The forces encounter a pond on the eastern mountain path. Sanji finds a pleasure hall owned by Black Maria, but finds it empty since Kaido's subordinates have left in search of the intruders. Nami, Carrot, and Shinobu decide to break away from the group to search for Momonosuke. Apu explains what happened to Killer. When Killer was imprisoned, Orochi offered him a chance to save his captain if he ate a smile fruit. Killer ate the fruit, but it was defective, giving him the side effects but no ability and making him a pleasure. Who's Who decides not to intervene in the battle, instead working on tracking down Yamato before Sasaki does. He also thinks about how Queen said he would kill one of the Tobiroppo. Who's Who mentions a certain Tobiroppo he wants to kill. Although Luffy attempts to follow the plan, Kid and Killer continue to wreak havoc on enemy units. Meanwhile, at the eastern mountain path, Kinemon's forces split into two groups. One group enters the castle while the other continues down the path. Chopper's tank joins the group entering the castle. Most of them see Big Mom's shadow from the window and dive into the water, but she opens the window to find Chopper's tank. The Big Mom pirates, led by Prospero, finally make it back up the waterfall and into the country. However, they see another flying figure, Marco the Phoenix, who arrived to Wano country to aid Luffy. Although they attack Marco, he uses to push the ship back down the waterfall. Nekomamushi and Izu, who have also arrived to aid the rebellion, ride up the waterfall and watch the ship falling down. Marco remembers seeing Luffy in the Summit War of Marineford. When Akainu attempted to kill an unconscious Luffy, several Whitebeard pirates, including Marco, Vista, and Izu, all held Akainu back while Luffy was taken to safety. Orochi meets with Kaido and discusses the samurai's plan. Orochi believes that the allies have died at sea. He comments on how trusting the samurai were of Kanjuro prior to his betrayal, since he nearly died along with them in the boiling pot 20 years ago. However, Kaido laments that Oden never told them the location of Laugh-Tale. The beast pirates outside, unaware that Kanjuro was on their side, act hostile towards him, but they are defeated, and Kanjuro enters Orochi's throne room. He brings with him an unconscious, beaten Momonosuke. Meanwhile, Page 1 carries Ulti down the hallway. Law's submarine encounters a particularly strong current. They decide to charge at it at full speed, passing the current but causing a jostle. Meanwhile, Nekomamushi just finished climbing the waterfall with his subordinates, but he would unlikely make it to Onigashima in time. In the mansion, Zoro cuts down a wall to get to Kaido, only to find several beasts pirates on the other side. He and Luffy fight the enemies off, with Luffy practicing his Ryuo on them. More enemies come, and Luffy prepares to battle them. Canyon, with her forces setting up cannons and mortars to fire at the tank. Although Chopper fires back and destroys the cannons and mortars, Big Mom throws a missile at the tank from above. The tank is unharmed, but it is sent flying into the air. Chopper uses the chance to fire at Big Mom's head, then throws another explosive into Big Mom's mouth. Big Mom is still unharmed and chases the tank away. Kanjuro comes to Orochi with an unconscious, beaten Momonosuke. He states that Momonosuke attempted to escape by cutting the rope with the knife, failed to thwart the 9 Red Scabbards' plans, and that the Allied forces are in Onigashima. However, Fukurokuju reports that since there were no enemy ships at the port, the island was safe from enemy attacks. Still, Orochi prepares to execute Momonosuke to damage the enemy morale. Marco tying him with seastone chains. From there, the southern forces split up into 2 groups. One would enter the Skull Dome while the other continues down the path. Since Big Mom has been lured away, Kinemon's forces are able to safely come out of hiding. They make their advance, but Nami's group is spotted by Prometheus. Meanwhile, Ulti insists that Page 1 carry her down the hall, but they fall down the stairs and encounter Luffy. A mysterious masked figure runs through the halls, excited to meet Luffy. She is the one where Kid is fighting beast pirates. Meanwhile, Ulti checks on her brother, Page 1. She again throws a fit in front of him, remembering how she rode on Page 1's back down the staircase. She then confronts Luffy, being told that he is a pirate intruder. They immediately get into a fight, and they headbutt each other, each attempting to knock the other down. Ulti gets the upper hand and slams Luffy into the floor. She transforms into the hybrid form of her Pachycephalosaurus fruit, while Page 1 transforms into his full Spinosaurus form. Although Luffy gets up, he acknowledges that he is in an emperor's castle and fights at full strength. Eventually, Luffy grabs onto Ulti's horns and slams her into the ground, then defeats Page 1 with a Haki-imbued Gear Third Punch. Enraged, Ulti transforms into her full beast form, headbutting Luffy. She prepares a more powerful headbutt, Ul Meteor, but the masked figure appears and strikes her down with the Reimei Haki move. Excited to see Luffy, the masked figure carries him away, revealing himself to be Yamato, Kaido's son. Angry that the Big Mom pirate's ship was knocked down the waterfall twice, Prospero rides to Onigashima on his candy slug. He swears revenge on King and Marco for knocking the ship down. Chopper's tank fires several rounds at Big Mom, but she is unharmed by the fire. She prepares to use her devil fruit powers on Usopp and Chopper, but upon hearing Prometheus's call, she walks away. Although the tank is unharmed, a transformation switch is activated, turning the tank into the lower half of the General Frankie. Chopper must unite it with the Kurosai FRU-4 to form the full General Frankie. Big Mom walks through the halls in search of Zeus, creating homies with pieces of her soul. Nami, knowing she could not win in a battle against Big Mom, decides to run into the performance hall with Zeus to avoid her. Meanwhile, Zoro is in the halls but is surrounded on both sides. He encounters a group of gifters who offer him a spot in the Beast's pirates. Zoro refuses and cuts the enemies down. Robin and Jinbei are among the partygoers and they spot Hyogoro, and they are glad that the samurai successfully entered the castle. Robin is harassed by a drunken beast pirate, but she knocks him out. Then Orochi appears on the party room balcony, showing Momonosuke tied to a cross and preparing to execute him. Kaido is disappointed that Orochi interrupted his party. The medical team tends to Ulti's mouth injury and helps her regain consciousness. Page 1, who had no injury other than a dislocated jaw, goes to chase after Yamato. In the hallway, Yamato attempts to speak with Luffy, but Luffy refuses to listen because he was Kaido's son. He unleashes several attacks on Yamato, who defends himself against the attacks. This reminds Yamato of the time he battled with Ace. Orochi prepares to execute Momonosuke to damage the enemy morale. He explains to the crowd that Momonosuke was a time traveler who was transported 20 years into the future by his mother Toki. The crowd votes on his method of execution. Although Robin, Jinbei, Hyogoro, and the other allies are unhappy to see Momonosuke on the cross, they are forced to jeer at him to blend in. At Onegashima's coast, Law's submarine approaches the back of the island, battling strong currents. The submarine goes up to the surface. Then Law creates a room for his devil fruit ability. Using the shambles move, he switches the samurai on the submarine with mountain rocks on the island. This transports the samurai to a snowy mountain peak. Marco also arrives, having carried Nekomamushi and Izu to Onigashima. Kikunojo has a heartfelt reunion with his brother after 20 years separated. Ashura and the others prepare to enter the castle. Kaido gets frustrated that Yamato has not been captured yet. He decides to personally appear at the party, appearing by Momonosuke. Along with the execution, Kaido introduces a certain new Onigashima project. Finally, in private, Luffy grants Yamato 5 minutes to explain himself. Yamato explains that he idolized Odin, and when he was executed, Yamato proclaimed himself to be Odin. He went to Kuri and found Odin's logbook, reading about his adventures with the Whitebeard and Roger pirates. Back in the present day, Yamato removes his mask, revealing himself to be a woman. She decided to become a man as she desired to become Odin. On the top of the castle, Law and Beppo break away from the group to achieve their own goals. However, the remaining samurai are attacked by headless centaurs, deducing they are drawings made by Kanjuro. Kanjuro comes out of the castle door and confronts them, revealing what happened to Momonosuke. Momonosuke attempted to escape by cutting his ropes using a knife, and taken to Orochi. Kanjuro finishes by announcing Momonosuke's public execution at the party. Outraged and feeling betrayed, the samurai wage a battle against Kanjuro's forces. Nekomamushi has replaced his hand with a double-barrel gun and Inuarashi's leg a sword, so they battle fiercely against their enemies. However, in him. After Kanjuro denounces the samurai for the last time, she enters the battle. Nami's group is chased by Prometheus down the halls, and are further attacked by the homies. Nami and Carrot are captured, but Shinobu flees. Zeus also attempts to intervene, but is grabbed by Big Mom's obscured hand. Yamato reveals that he met Ace when he visited the country. They battled because Ace attempted to assassinate Kaido. Yamato also explains that he wishes to be free like Odin, but Kaido fitted him with shackles that would explode if he left the country. Luffy offers to remove his handcuffs for him, but they are interrupted by Kaido's speech from the performance floor. It's against the world government. In the hallway, Big Mom attacks Zeus before personally crashing into the party hall. Kaido continues his announcement to the crowd below. His final objective is to obtain the ancient weapons and use it to destroy the world order, putting the world into a state of endless warfare. He also announces a new plan. He would take full control of the country and enslave all citizens, including those in the flower capital. Orochi objects, arguing that the capital is the pride of the Kurozumi family. Kaido promptly takes out his sword and decapitates him. Upon seeing Momonosuke on the cross through a crack in the ceiling, Luffy and Yamato fall through the ceiling into the party below. They go to rescue Momonosuke. Kanjuro battles Kikunojo atop the mountain, creating drawings to battle her. Forgiveness. Still believing there is good left in Kanjuro, she attempts to forgive him. But Kanjuro reveals it to be an act, attacking her. He states that shared absolutely no feelings with the samurai and never cared for them at all. Finally accepting that Kanjuro's act was entirely fake, Kikunojo enters battle and manages to cut him down. Kanjuro collapses while Kikunojo gets on her knees in tears. Kinemon and Denjiro have reached the back of the castle and join the group, who is still hurt from Kanjuro's betrayal. Still, they decide to move forward and continue their advance. Remembering her happy memories with Kanjuro, she decides to set them aside and join the rest. Enraged that he was being forced into the plan, Yamato protests. All agree to join Kaido's side and abandon their shogun. Kaido then goes to Momonosuke, remembering when he left him in the burning castle to die. Just like 20 years ago, Kaido demands to know Momonosuke's name, offering to cancel the execution if he turns out not to be the son of Odin. The crowd encourages Momonosuke to lie to escape the execution. Yamato and Luffy run down the hall, where Yamato hears, to his delight, that the Odins retain. Meanwhile, Chopper's tank on its 2 legs run through a dark cave, accidentally waking up one of the numbers. At the seas outside the island, Perospero battles against Marco, where they both express their disapproval of Kaido and Big Mom's alliance. Back at the performance hall, through sheer bravery, Momonosuke gives his real name to Kaido, revealing he is a member of the Kozuki family. This greatly angers Kaido. Just then, Luffy removes Yamato's handcuffs and they explode. He prepares to attack Kaido, but Luffy stops him so that the samurai could act. Kinemon's forces advance through the hallways and break into the platform with Kaido and the All-Stars. Nekomamushi strikes down Jack, and Izu manages to disarm King. Shocked that the 9 red scabbards have returned like the prophecy said, Queen makes the announcement to the crowd that they are facing a full-scale raid. Together, the 9 red scabbards yell Tsunaki before slashing Kaido, cutting him like how Odin did 20 years ago. As he falls, Kaido realizes that the 9 red Ryuo pierced.
What would you do? What? Are you kidding me? That is not enough. I don't know. Rosie. Oh, you're big.
Actually defects from the beast's pirates, swearing allegiance to the Kozuki family. He attacks the enemy beast's pirates and battles Ulti head-on. Ulti leaps into the air and prepares a headbutt, but Yamato strikes her with his club. Meanwhile, Big Mom spots and approaches Luffy. They quickly enter battle and punch each other, but Big Mom overpowers Luffy, sending him crashing into the ground. Getting up, Luffy declares,
What do we do? Get back my back! What is this girl? Track star? Oh, jeez! We got some wrong line, pal!
that his goal was not to only take down Kaido, but also his Big Mom's subordinate. Shinobu sneaks onto the balcony in an attempt to rescue Momonosuke, while Robin and Jinbei strike when needed. In the hallway, Nami and Carrot fight back against the homies, striking them with electricity and killing them. Nami runs after Big Mom to retrieve Zeus. Terrified of her, Zeus rejoins Nami. The 9 red scabbards attempt to kill Kaido by stabbing him with their swords. Kinemon recites the prophecy given by Toki 20 years prior. They nearly succeed in killing Kaido, but he unleashes a powerful attack, knocking them all back. He deduces that the samurai have allied themselves with Luffy to take him down. Kaido attempts to deceive the samurai, claiming that Luffy would betray them whenever he saw fit. With great trust in Luffy, Kinemon refuses to back down. Luffy declares an all-out war. War ensues in Onigashima. Big Mom and Kaido assume that the raid would be easily defeated, as Luffy only had a few hundred troops. However, Queen gets a report that there are enemies in the thousands charging into Onigashima. The samurai troops join Zoro. The former Udon prisoners join Killer, and Kid and Law also join in on the battle. Furthermore, at the shore, Marco and Perospero join forces in battle against Kaido's troops. Hearing all these reports from his subordinates, Queen calls off the banquet, telling all the partygoers to enter battle and declaring an all-out enemy raid. Shinobu, who is hiding in the ceiling just above Momonosuke, prepares to rescue him. However, she cannot act immediately as the All-Stars are still on the balcony. Kaido transforms into his dragon form and flies out of the hole, ready for combat. He flies through the ceiling and into the sky. The Minks appear to confront him, but Jack's forces appear to stop them. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi remember when Jack devastated the Mokomo dukedom in search of Raizo. Jack's men tortured innocent Minks, even using a toxic gas to wipe them out. Jack also remembers when his ship was decimated by Zunisha, and he was left to drown in the sea. The Minks stare at the sky, allowing them to transform into their Sulong forms. The Minks battle Jack as well as one of the numbers, Nangi. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi also transform into their Sulong form to battle Kaido. Battle ensues in the party hall, and Queen receives several reports from his subordinates. While he and King are distracted, Shinobu silently drops from the ceiling and attempts to rescue Momonosuke. She uses a technique in an attempt to break the chains. Although she damages the chains, she is caught by King, who throws her off the balcony and sends her crashing into a tower. She takes out a parachute to slow her fall. Momonosuke's chains finally break and he falls off the balcony. King pursues him, but Sanji, appearing in his raid suit, intervenes. He catches Momonosuke and passes him to Shinobu before battling King. King gets the upper hand, transforming into his Pteranodon form. piercing Sanji with his nose and crashing into a building. At this point, Yamato abandons his battle with Ulti to take care of Momonosuke. Big Mom confronts Luffy. She recalls how the Straw Hats ruined the Big Mom pirate's wedding. Luffy and his clones destroyed her wedding cake, and Brook destroyed her only portrait of Mother Carmel. In an act of revenge, she takes out Napoleon. Big Mom notices that Zeus is missing and catches him being carried away by Nami. Big Mom grabs Zeus, but Frank and Brook appear in their motorcycle and run over Big Mom's face, knocking her over. Brook then slices Zeus in half. Nami is excited to see Frankie and Brook. The samurai continue to battle the Beast's pirates in the performance hall. However, the numbers play with the Brachio tank like a toy, ripping the hatch open to see Usopp and Chopper before throwing the tank into the ground. Unharmed by the beatings, the tank fires back, but the numbers are also unharmed by the fire. One of the numbers picks the tank up and shakes it around, making Usopp and Chopper dizzy. Yamato runs through the halls to rescue Momonosuke, but is still pursued by Ulti. Yamato is forced to battle her, but he gets the upper hand, knocking her into a wall. He goes to meet Shinobu and Momonosuke. Although Luffy insists that Yamato could be trusted, they get suspicious when Yamato claims to be Odin. They flee from him. Big Mom gets up, infuriated that 2 more Straw Hats have shown up. Frankie attempts to fight back by firing a laser beam, but the numbers appear. Their gigantic size reminds the Straw Hats of the time they battled Oars in Thriller Bark. Big Mom explains that they were artificial recreations of ancient giants from Punk Hazard that were failed experiments but were purchased. Big Mom attempts to attack Frankie, but Robin and Jinbei intervene. Jinbei flips Big Mom over, and Robin creates a path of hands that rolls her away. To the excitement of Usopp and Chopper, Frankie prepares to combine the Brachio tank and the Kurosai FRU-4 into the Iron Pirate. Big Mom rolls out of the castle and down the entrance steps, being spotted by Prospero. Meanwhile, Sasaki's chains are broken off by his subordinates. Sasaki swears revenge on Denjiro for betraying him. Atop the Skull Dome, Kaido and Jack's forces battle against the Minks. Although Jack fights off the Minks, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi take over, transforming into their Sulong forms to face him. Inside the castle, Luffy and Zoro meet up on the platform, intending to go to the rooftop to face Kaido. They attempt to launch through the hole in the ceiling, but they are caught. They are flung off the balcony, where they are faced by Jockey, one of the numbers on the ground below. However, Frankie combines the 2 vehicles into the Iron Pirate, a giant robot. Operating the robot, Frankie shoots down Jockey with his cannon. Unharmed by King's emerges from the rubble and removes his raid suit. Although he is attacked by enemy units, Luffy and Zoro fight at his aid. The Straw Hats battle against the enemy Beast's pirates, remembering their past adventures as a crew. Despite being far stronger than most of the Beast pirates, the Straw Hats are still greatly outnumbered. Still, they gather and prepare to battle against the All-Stars and the Tobirapo. Drake and Basil Hawkins watch the battle from above. Secretly fearing Kaido and Big Mom's alliance, Drake is happy that Luffy has come to stop them. He prepares to betray the Beast's pirates, but Hawkins refuses to join him. King and Queen also meet on the balcony, with Queen still questioning how the Udon prisoners escaped. King tells the Tobirapo to stop all enemy invaders from climbing onto the Skull Dome to battle Kaido. After hearing that Drake was attempting to betray the Beast pirates, Who decides to carry out his own plot against the traitor. He claims that he is plotting to kill Queen, so Drake joins him to confront Queen together. However, Who instead turns on Drake, shooting him in the arm. Queen reveals that they were aware of Drake's betrayal all along. He was spotted letting Law out of prison, so they deduced that he was a traitor. Queen prepares to torture Drake for information regarding his true allegiances. The Straw Hats aid the samurai in battling another one of the numbers, Goki. Luffy remembers when they defeated Oars in Thriller Bark. Although that battle required the efforts of the entire crew, Luffy transforms into his Boundman form to battle Goki on his own. Drake escapes, throwing a grenade at Queen before transforming and fleeing. Leaping into the party, he uses his swords to cut down another number, Juki, just as Luffy defeats Goki. Drake officially defects from the Beast Pirates, joining Luffy's side. The Straw Hats recognize Drake as one of the Tobirapo, remembering him from the bathhouse incident. Although they are suspicious of him, Luffy accepts him into the alliance. Still, Zoro battles him, still untrusting of him. While the samurai protect the Straw Hats, they advance forward. Usopp and Nami are chased by Page 1 and Ulti, and Luffy and Sanji are attacked by Appu's sound attacks. They cover their ears to evade the attacks. Appu summons Hacha to defeat the Straw Hats. Hacha is then enticed by the General Frankie and attempts to chase it. Frankie decides to run away, chased by Hacha to prevent him from further rampaging in the live floor. Zoro and Drake battle, with Zoro untrusting of Drake because he refuses to reveal his true identity. However, their battle is interrupted by Appu, who attempts to summon more numbers. United by a mutual hatred for Appu, Zoro accepts Drake into the alliance and they battle him together. Queen fires a machine gun into the crowd, striking several samurai fighters with bullets. Although their wounds are shallow, the bullets immediately begin taking effect, freezing the victim's skin and coating it with ice. Drake finds that the bullets fired were Excite bullets, and the samurai were affected by another one of Queen's viruses. The virus in the Excite bullets causes a transformation in its targets, freezing them and covering their skin with ice, as well as making them grow horns and fangs like an oni. The victims became hostile, attacking their allies and biting them, infecting them as well. Queen fires another round into the crowd, striking more samurai. Yamato chases after Momonosuke, who is being carried away by Shinobu. Shinobu is untrusting of Yamato for claiming to be Odin, but Momonosuke is willing to listen, desperate to speak with his father again. As Yamato continues to chase his son, Black Maria sings a song in the empty banquet hall prophesying about a certain separated couple finally reuniting. The fierce battle atop the Skull Dome continues, and Shishilian manages to defeat Nangi in his Sulong form. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi confront Jack, remembering how Jack terrorized the Mokomo dukedom and severed their limbs. They battle, and the two minks triumph, slashing Jack's eye and cutting off part of his tusk. Kaido decides to take over the battle, allowing Jack to leave the battle to receive medical treatment for his injuries. Wanda and the mink forces attempt to stop enemy beast's pirate from climbing to the top of the Skull Dome. Carrot also joins in, but is forced to leave after hearing Prospero. Just outside the castle, Big Mom gets up from falling down the stairs and speaks with Prospero and Marco. Prospero initially protests her alliance with Kaido, but decides to trust her. But this places him at odds with Marco. Marco battles Big Mom fiercely, just as Carrot shows up and recognizes Prospero. She remembers how her mentor Pedro sacrificed himself to help the Straw Hats escape from Prospero. As Luffy and Sanji run through the hallways, Kaido fires a fireball at the samurai. Kinemon slashes the fireball, cutting Kaido in the process. As Queen continues firing Excite bullets into the crowd, King orders Bao Huang to locate Kozuki Momonosuke. Momonosuke is in the hallways, still being chased by Shinobu. Although Momonosuke and Shinobu attempt to hide from them by hiding on the ceiling, an explosion causes them to fall and be seen by Yamato. They run away from Yamato just as they are spotted by a black cat with Bao Huang's mask. With this, Black Maria continues her song hinting at a reunion. The song ends with Maria breaking the string of her shamisen. The 9 red scabbards work together to battle Kaido. Raizo and Denjiro strike Kaido's underbelly. Kinemon climbs onto his body and pierces his head, and Inuarashi and Nekomamushi strike him with Electro. Kaido is still unharmed, flinging them to the ground before blasting them with fire. Still, just like Odin 20 years ago, the samurai rise in the flames. They remember when Odin offered to teach his retainers Odin 2 sword style, but they all refused. So using their individual fighting styles, they each take turns attacking Kaido, each managing to pierce his body. Kaido is still unharmed, so the 9 red scabbards decide to mimic Odin's 2 sword style in honor of Odin. Kaido shoots several fireballs at them, but they evade them. Kinemon clashes against Kaido's Bolo breath. Then they all perform a move, Togen Totsuka, slashing Kaido's underbelly just like Odin did 20 years ago. The slash that the 9 red scabbards inflicted on Kaido reopens the scars that Odin made. Kaido collapses from the injury. Back inside, Queen takes out his Gatling gun and fires another round of Excite bullets. Zoro is forced to fight off the infected samurai who became hostile from the virus. Although he recognizes one of the samurai from the hallway, he is forced to cut him down to avoid getting infected. The Straw Hats are appalled by this new highly infectious virus, and Queen names it his masterpiece, the Ice Oni. Luffy and Sanji fight off a group of Beast's pirates, but they are faced with a Shinichi Gorilla Smile user, Briscola. Jinbei strikes Briscola down from behind. Although he gets up, Jinbei defeats him with a punch, sending him crashing into the ceiling. Together, Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbei battle against the remaining Beast pirates. The people in the flower capital celebrate, but they secretly long for the return of the Kazuki family. Minatomo the carpenter sits down for a drink and remembers the old days where the country was run by Sukiyaki and Odin. The townspeople pray that the 9 red scabbards are battling against Orochi and Kaido. Atop the skull dome, the 9 red scabbards decide to decapitate Kaido to finish him off, but he gets up before they could do so. Kaido reflects on his battle with Odin. Although he laments that Higurashi used a dirty trick to sabotage Odin, he decides to attack the samurai at full strength. He unleashes a series of flying slashes, and one of them cuts off Kiku's arm. Shinobu and Momonosuke are chased by Yamato into the right brain tower. Shinobu uses a falling piece of paper to divert Yamato away from him. They are now safe from him, but they are spied on by Bao Huang's black cat. Bao Huang reports back to King about Momonosuke's location, and King sends the report to his subordinates. He orders all available Shinichi and Tobiroko to go to the right brain tower to kill Momonosuke. Shinobu runs into a dark location only to be ambushed by the Beast Pirates Armored Division, led by Sasaki. All members of this division have smile abilities that give them an armor-like defense. Shinobu is attacked by a turtle smile user, and Momonosuke refuses to run away to save himself. Just then, Yamato appears at his aid, defeating the Turtle Man and sending him crashing into a wall. Yamato declares that he will fight for the Kazuki family. Queen starts to get bored of shooting the enemy samurai, so he decides to start firing at his own men as well. He shoots the pleasures, knowing that they would simply laugh in response to being shot. The uninfected samurai battle the Ice Oni to avoid getting infected. However, one of the Yakuza, Omasa, is scratched by an Oni's nail and is infected. Chopper swears revenge on Queen for his gross misuse of man-made viruses. Luffy, Jinbei, and Sanji run through the hallways and defeat Hamlet, a giraffe smile user, and Fortrix, a chicken smile user. After being slashed by Kaido's attack, Kiku loses her left arm, her helmet shatters, and her sword breaks in 2. Inuarashi orders his subordinates to evacuate the rooftop to avoid the slash attacks. Izu bandages Kiku's arm, and Kinemon cauterizes the wound with his flaming sword to stop it from bleeding. Fully treated, Kiku returns to battle. Kaido transforms back into his human form, stating that death brings completion to a human. The Ice Oni virus spreads throughout the live floor, affecting several people. Queen performs a short sadistic rap about the miseries of the victims. Omasa considers killing himself to prevent himself from becoming an Oni, but Hyogoro dissuades him, reminding him of how the Udon prisoners were cured of the mummy virus by the Straw Hats. However, still needing excitement, Queen fires another round of Excite bullets into the crowd. The Straw Hats are now cornered by infected Oni. Chopper deduces that Queen must have created an antibody to cure the virus, so he must acquire it from him to develop a cure. Queen announces that the virus will kill its victims in an hour at most. Apu tries to escape the live floor, but he finds that the gates are locked. Queen introduces a game he calls Ice Oni Tag. He gives a vial containing the only sample of the antibody to Apu. The people must fight desperately for the antibody, or else they would inevitably become infected themselves. The Straw Hats must win this game and acquire the sample to cure everyone. Queen performs an alternate version of his funk dance, with sadistic lyrics celebrating the blood sport. He then begins the game, and Apu is chased by the crowd for the vial. On the rooftop, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi attack Kaido, but they are struck down with his spiked club, and they lose their Sulong forms. In the right brain tower, Yamato decides to aid Shinobu. He reveals that he attended Odin's execution and heard Shinobu's speech. Sasaki's forces bombard Yamato with cannons, but he endures the barrage. Apologizing for not saving Momonosuke from the burning castle 20 years ago, Yamato introduces himself as Odin. Marco battles with Big Mom, with his blue phoenix flames clashing with Prometheus's flames. Although Marco defeats Prometheus, Big Mom picks him up and Prospero prepares to shoot him with a candy arrow. Apu is chased by Zoro and Drake, who attack him viciously for the antibody sample. Queen watches from above, recognizing 2 of the Straw Hats as Roronoa Zoro and Sanji, son of Vinsmoke Judge. Brook is bitten by an Oni, but due to having no skin, he is unaffected. Ulti and Page 1 continue to chase Nami and Usopp down the halls. They separate, and Ulti chases Nami into a bathhouse. She overpowers Nami and strikes her to the ground with a headbutt. Usopp attempts to intervene with his pop greens, but with Page 1's help, Ulti defeats Usopp. With this, Nami surrenders, and Ulti pressures her to admit that Kaido will become the Pirate King instead of Luffy. Nami recalls when she first met Luffy in Orange Town. Later, Luffy stood up against her oppressor Arlong and liberated her village. Remembering how well Luffy treated her, Nami bravely declares to Ulti that Luffy will become the Pirate King. Just then, Tama appears with Komachio, who bites Ulti's head in front of Nami. Still in grief over Pedro's death, Carrot becomes furious at the sight of Perospero. Wanda consoles her, stating that Pedro took his turn as he promised and did not die with regrets. Together they transform into their Sulong forms. Just before Perospero could fire his arrow, Wanda and Carrot appear and scratch his face. Perospero immediately recognizes Carrot as the mink who sunk the enemy ships on the waters of Tatoland. They reflect on Pedro's sacrifice, but Big Mom attempts to get away. While Marco pursues her, Wanda and Carrot confront Perospero. Back in the bathhouse, Page 1 assists his sister, knocking Komachio away. He strikes Usopp with his dinosaur nose, sending him flying but landing safely onto Komachio's back. While Hihimaru the baboon holds Page 1 back, Komachio rides away, and Tama reveals that an enemy gave her a ride to Onigashima. In the right brain tower, Yamato battles against the armored division, breaking through their shields. Although Sasaki prepares to battle him personally, they are interrupted by Frankie and Hacha. Yamato fights Hacha, defeating him with a single blow. He escapes with Shinobu and Momonosuke. While Sasaki sends a pursuit unit after them, the armored division prepares to battle Frankie. As Yamato runs through the halls, he declares that the future of Wano country lies in Momonosuke's hands. Law defeats guards and finds a poneglyph. Remembering Corazon's sacrifice as well as the mysterious initial D in his name, he wonders why he lives the checkered life he lives. Back inside the castle, Chopper, having contracted the Ice Oni virus, attempts to nullify the symptoms by slowing the freezing. Brook uses a torch to keep Chopper's body warm, and this prevents the virus from spreading to the rest of his body. Just then, Big Mom appears riding on both Prometheus and Zeus. In the hallways, Kid runs through the halls but encounters Rattlesnake Smile user Poker. Kid decides not to finish Poker off and get past him. On the rooftop, the 9 red scabbards leap at Kaido and stab him, but Kaido unleashes a lightning bolt, knocking them all back. Although the samurai prepare a counterattack, Kaido brutally beats all of them with his club, leaving them gravely injured on the ground. Kaido ends up breaking the rooftop with his strikes, sending Kiku's severed arm falling into the live floor below, which is found by Zoro. Big Mom decides to ride up to join Kaido on the rooftop. Zoro becomes enraged by Queen's lack of empathy for the ailing people. He steps up to Apu and uses a resheathing technique to cut him down. He then acquires the antibody sample and entrusts it to Chopper before moving on to another area. Chopper announces his findings to the crowd and works on creating a cure for the virus. Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbei run up the stairs on the way to the rooftop, but Sanji hears the voice of a woman being harassed. Sanji splits away from the group to rescue the harassed woman. However, when Sanji bursts through the door, he gets caught in a sticky spider web. This is revealed to be a trap created by Black Maria. She reveals corpses hanging in a closet who have also fallen into her trap and were killed. Maria shows she has feelings for Sanji, and they have a romantic moment. Luffy and Jinbei are watched by Bao Huang's cat. Huang reports to King that Luffy has reached the 3rd floor. King positions 2 Shinichi Poker and a gorilla smile fruit named Mazurka at the stairs to the 4th floor. However, Luffy meets with the Udon prisoners, who have built him a ladder to the next floor. Luffy climbs up, avoiding Mazurka and Poker. On the rooftop, Kinemon is the only one left standing against Kaido. Kaido unleashes a strike, knocking him down. An earthquake strikes Onigashima. At this point, Marco enters the live floor and finds Zoro. Outside, Yamato, Momonosuke, and Shinobu start to evacuate, but the tremors abruptly stop. Yamato discovers that the Beast's pirate's ship has disappeared from the port, leaving behind a lilac fog. He explains that Kaido can fly by creating flame clouds and using them as footholds to move through the air. Kaido, who conjures flame clouds from the rooftop, is now using the clouds to lift up the entire island of Onigashima to move it to the flower capital. The island is completely out of the ocean and is floating in the air. Chopper, discovering that fire can be used against the Ice Oni virus, requires a large amount of fire for the infected people. Marco uses his devil fruit power to create blue flames, setting Chopper on fire. These flames are warm enough to stop the virus's spread, but not hot enough to burn him. With this, Marco sets all the infected people on fire, granting them temporary relief from the virus effects. Chopper leaves with Minx, Miyagi, and Tristan to work on the antidote. Queen attempts to turn the Beast pirates against the Straw Hats, claiming that Chopper does not intend to heal everyone with the antidote. While Hyogoro's forces hold the enemy army off, Drake defeats a vengeful Apu. This allows Chopper to start working on a cure. On the way to the rooftop, Luffy and Jinbei encounter a room with enemy beasts pirates. Jinbei holds them off as Luffy continues on his way. However, Jinbei is watched by an obscured enemy. In the right brain tower, Frankie battles the armored division with General Frankie, but Sasaki intervenes and transforms into a Triceratops. They both clash. Meanwhile, Ulti and Page 1 rampage in their beast forms. Page 1 cuts down Hihimaru with his claw. Although he perseveres and gets up, he is beaten a second time. Page 1 and Ulti then pursue Nami, Komachiyo, and Tama. Yamato, Momonosuke, and Shinobu arrive at a storehouse to hide in. While Shinobu rests to take care of her wounds, they find a stone statue of a dragon. Yamato explains that the statue once decorated the front of the island, but it was damaged by Ace and left abandoned in the storehouse. Yamato explains that when Ace visited Wano country, he attempted to kill Kaido. Sanji attempts to escape, but is caught by Black Maria's silk. It is revealed that Black Maria has a devil fruit power, allowing her to transform into a Rosa Miguel Gravigeli, an ancient spider. Meanwhile, Luffy battles fiercely against the beast's pirates, and the obscured enemy who confronted Jinbei hears. The enemy is revealed to be Who's who has transformed into a saber-toothed tiger. Who's Who hints that, like Jinbei, he used to work for the world government. In the storehouse, Yamato bandages Shinobu's wounds. At this point, Yamato reveals more about his experiences with Ace. When Ace led his own pirate crew, he invaded Onigashima to rescue abducted children. Ace battled against its guardian, Yamato, where it is revealed that Kaido was on expedition with his top officers. While Ace's subordinates rescued the children and sent them back to the mainland, Ace continued his battle. He revealed his past to Yamato. When Ace was a child, his father Roger became despised by the people. Ace began questioning whether or not his life inherently had no worth when his father was so rejected. Yamato also revealed his past. Since he dreamed of living free like Odin, Kaido fitted him with handcuffs that would explode if he left the island. Ace encouraged Yamato to do what he desired against Kaido's wishes. In anger, Yamato destroyed Kaido's dragon statue. Ace and Yamato developed a friendship. As they watched the sunset, Ace told Yamato about the outside world, including his brother, who will rise as a powerful pirate. Finishing his story, Yamato tells that Ace died 2 years ago, but his brother Luffy inherits his will. Yamato anticipated Luffy's return so he could take Kaido down. Meanwhile, Tama reveals to Nami that she also knew Ace. Chopper works on an antidote while Marco helps some of the infected with his flames. Although the Beast's pirates do not want to attack Marco, Queen threatens them with death if they do not. Still, Marco transforms into his phoenix form and flies Zoro to the rooftop, while Robin and Brook run to the castle. Zoro reminds Marco of his memories with Ace. When Ace was in the Whitebeard Pirates, he begged Whitebeard to let him go to Wano country to take Kaido down. When Ace last visited the country, he promised he would make the country free from hunger. However, knowing that Ace would not stand a chance against Kaido, Whitebeard did not let him go. Ace resolved to get stronger so he could battle Kaido and fulfill his promises.
Ace vs Kaido. Que luta seria Ace vs Kaido, mano? Que luta seria Ace vs Kaido? Eu acho que o Kaido ganha fácil. Kaido ganha fácil.
Luffy appears and defeats them, taking the stairs to the next floor. Marco is pursued by King and Queen. Queen fires bullets at his mouth, but the bullets pass through Marco's body. Keeping Big Mom meets with Kaido and finds the samurai drowned. They discuss the new Onigashima. Although the people are enjoying the fire festival in the flower capital, Kaido will move Onigashima there, even if many will die. However, they start to bicker over the road poneglyph, where they both agree to negotiate further once the One Piece is acquired. As Yamato takes out Odin's journal, he reveals more about his times with Ace. As Ace and Yamato sat around a campfire, they discussed each other's dreams. Ace discussed Luffy's dreams. Since his childhood, Luffy had a dream of finding the One Piece in memory of Roger. Using Ace's fingernail, Yamato creates a Vivre card of him. Ace eventually departed from the island, and Yamato kept a Vivre card of him. However, during the Summit War, Ace was killed in battle. As he died in Marineford, Yamato's Vivre card disintegrated before his eyes. Yamato remembered when Ace told him that his brother Luffy would rise as a powerful pirate. Yamato resolved to wait for Luffy to come to save the country from Kaido. Finishing his story, Yamato entrusts Oden's journal to Momonosuke. He suggests that Luffy was the person mentioned in the prophecy, who would arrive to the country to take down Kaido. Kid, Killer, Law, and Zoro reach the rooftop to confront Kaido and Big Mom. Luffy also enters by punching through the ceiling. After tending to Kinemon's wounded body, Luffy apologizes for being late to the battle. Remembering all the people who made the rebellion possible, Luffy creates a Ryo-imbued Gear 3rd punch, striking down Kaido. As Kaido gets up, Luffy declares that he will become the Pirate King. As Big Mom's Luffy's declaration, Kaido is surprised that Luffy was able to injure him, a feat only done by a few of the most powerful pirates. He unleashes his Reime Haki move, and Luffy mostly avoids the attack. Big Mom attempts to intervene, but Zoro cuts Prometheus in half, though Prometheus survives and is reunited. Kaido attempts to strike Luffy off guard, but Law saves him. He, Luffy, and Kid begin bickering just as Prometheus shoots fireballs at them. Luffy suggests a contest where the last to dodge the fireball would win. Since they were focused on winning this contest, they all ended up being hit by the fireballs. Although they all emerge from the rubble, Zoro and Killer are left to battle Kaido. They charge at Kaido and manage to shallowly cut him. In the banquet hall, Sanji is kept bound by Black Maria, but is too charmed by the women to attempt to escape. Eventually, he decides to free himself by burning the webs with Diable Jambe flames, then uses the webs to fight off the ladies. However, he could not find himself to attack Black Maria, and Maria starts interrogating him about his crew's whereabouts, especially Robin. The three captains declare they will defeat Kaido. Luffy transforms into his Gear 4th form. Kid gathers metallic objects, and Law creates a room. They prepare for battle, and Kaido calls them monsters. Kaido prepares a counterattack, but Luffy strikes Kaido's stomach with Kong Gun. Kid crushes him with his fists using Punk Vice. Big Mom continues to mock the worst generation. Kaido transforms back into his dragon form and unleashes Kaifu, sending wind slashes flying at the enemies. He declares that he defeated and Samurai and will become the sole ruler of Wano country. Luffy strikes Kaido back with Kong Rifle. Kid slams his head into the ground with Slam Gibson, and Law uses Gamma Knife to damage Kaido's heart. Killer also attempts to use Scyther Sonic to repeatedly slash Kaido with his Punishers, but Big Mom strikes him down with a lightning bolt. With Law's help, Zoro attempts to slash Kaido with the powerful Enma, but is stopped by Big Mom. Zeus unleashes several lightning bolts that strike the worst generation. Still, the lightning does not affect Luffy since he is made of rubber.
Pessoal, isso já vinha acontecendo. Isso já vinha acontecendo, pessoal. Nessa coluna.
Kong Gatling gun. Luffy pummeling Kaido astounds the worst generation of Big Mom. His final punch sends Kaido crashing into the ground. Luffy attempts an attack to end Kaido, but he runs out of energy and loses his. Kid and Law take on Big Mom's attacks. Kaido regains consciousness and flies into the sky, creating tornadoes that knock Kid and Killer back. Luffy flies out of Zoro's hands and into Kaido's mouth. So, Zoro uses his Enma and unleashes an attack, cutting Kaido's rough scales and making him spit Luffy out in pain. The fierce battle in the rooftop is heard from the live floor. CP0 agents who have entered the party sit away from the conflict, using a go board to depict the battle status. There are far more black pieces than white, indicating that Kaido has a strong advantage. They lament that their supplier was killed, but note that this battle was inevitable since Luffy took down Doflamingo. They predict with certainty that the Beast Pirates will triumph, but nevertheless encourages battle, hoping that the pirates will destroy each other. Big Mom goes to check on the fighting pirates. Although Kaido is obscured, the worst generation hint that he has transformed into a new form, his hybrid form. Hours before Tama entered Onigashima to rescue Nami and Usopp, she asked Speed to take her to the island so she could assist the raid. Speed agreed immediately to take her, along with a tame Daifugo and Gazelman. On the ship, Tama created several Kibidangos to tame the gifters in Onigashima. Upon reaching the island, Speed claimed that the dangos she was distributing to the gifters were medicine created by Queen, apparently granting added strength. After Briscola ate a dango and reported having a surge in energy, the other gifters ate the Kibidangos being tamed. Back to the present day, after uniting with Nami's group, Gazelman and Daifugo forcefully feed the gifters in the corridors. Usopp shoots a dango into Hamlet's mouth, taming him. On the live floor, enemy beasts pirates attempt to take the antidote from Chopper, but he is guarded by Hyogoro's forces. However, one of the infected fighters lose their stamina. The flames given by Marco die and he transforms back into an ice oni. He charges at Hyogoro and infects him. Frankie gets the upper hand against Sasaki and throw him into several walls, but the beast pirates restrain him and prevent him from moving. Just then, Nami's group, along with Tama and the tamed beasts pirates, enter to aid Frankie. Usopp fires Kibidangos at Sasaki's forces, taming the armored division. Frankie takes out a sword and slashes Sasaki's abdomen. Black Maria's women play a game where they roll Sanji to each other. Sanji is knocked out during this game and wakes up to see Black Maria has crucified him with webs. Maria orders Sanji to call for Robin using a surveillance unit. Bao Huang attempts to locate the 9 red scabbards. She determines they are in the treasure repository, and there is an unknown person in the room helping them. Carrot and Wanda turn into their Salong form and confront Prospero, but he covers them with candy, turning them into Candymen. Carrot frees herself and Wanda using Electro to melt the candy. However, Prospero crushes Wanda with a Candy Maiden. On the live floor of Skull Dome, Marco battles King as Chopper continues to try to make an antidote for the Ice Onus. Hyogoro, who is infected, decides to fight as much as he can. He transforms into a younger version of himself. Before she goes to pursue the wounded samurai, Black Maria carries out her plan. She tortures Sanji into calling for Robin's help by punching him with brass knuckles. Sanji calls out for help at the top of his lungs, and the Marys announce the message throughout the live floor. Black Maria prepares to deliver one final blow to finish Sanji, but Robin sprouts a giant arm, striking Black Maria. Robin strikes down Black Maria and Brook frees Sanji by freezing and shattering the webs. As Robin faces Black Maria, Sanji escapes. He goes down a random path, hoping to meet with some of the allies. Bao Huang announces Yamato's location to the live floor. Yamato locates and strikes down the mouse. Yamato explains that it is a cyborg, known as a Mary, that serves as Kaido's surveillance unit by broadcasting their findings to human Marys. Now that Yamato's location has been revealed, enemy beast pirates approach the storehouse. With Momonosuke hiding in his robe, Yamato battles the pirates to escape. Carrot becomes furious after Wanda was defeated by Prospero. She charges Prospero, melting his candy and breaking through his armor. However, as clouds block the moon, she loses her Sulong form. This allows Prospero to defeat her as well. After taunting Pedro and Carrot, he leaves to join the others in battle. On the roof, Kaido reveals his hybrid form to the worst generation. 1 minute remains before Luffy can use Haki again, so he sleeps to get rest. Killer attempts to cut Kaido, but Kaido's body is now too hard for him to cut. Killer is struck away by Kaido's club. As Black Maria was unavailable, Jack, having been bandaged, decides to go to the treasure repository to kill the samurai. Bao Huang reports that somehow, the 9 red scabbards' injuries have been bandaged. Now that Jack is taking care of the samurai, Black Maria now focuses on battling Robin. She removes her robe to reveal a tattoo reading Girl Trouble. On the live floor of Skull Dome, Chopper works on the antidote but starts to run out of stamina. Still, he pushes through, using the last of his strength. Hyogoro also decides to use the last of his strength, battling the enemy beast's pirates. However, he instructs his men to kill him once the transformation is complete. As he takes on the Mimawarigumi, he regrets not battling against Kaido while in his prime. However, he is pleased that the Alliance now has a powerful asset, Luffy. On the rooftop, Kaido sends more slashes at his enemies in his hybrid form, and Big Mom makes Zeus unleash more lightning bolts. Luffy, having rested enough, is able to use Haki again and is ready to re-enter the battle. Marco battles both King and Queen in his Phoenix form. He bests both of them, sending King flying into a house and Queen into a wall. Although both survive and emerge from the rubble, this buys Chopper some extra time. However, Prospero, who enters from the stairs, spots him exhausted. Chopper manages to develop a cure for the virus. Before he administers the antidote to other people, he decides to test it on himself to guarantee its safety. The antidote creates a high fever meant to combat the virus. Hyogoro defeats both the Orochi Oniwabanshu and the Mimawarigumi, but he begins to transform into an Ice Oni. He orders his men to kill him so he would not endanger his allies. Leaving the battle to his subordinates, he states that he has no regrets. Marco struggles against King and Queen who attack him from 2 angles. He is sent crashing into a wall. Meanwhile, Yatape and Tsunagoro hesitate to kill Hyogoro and Omasa, reluctant to kill their comrades. The waiters and pleasures beg Queen to save them. Queen berates them, calling them useless to the crew since they have no special abilities. He tells them that they should simply succumb to the virus. He also tries to turn the pirates against Chopper, claiming that he cured himself and escaped. After taking the antidote, Chopper is cured and the ice crumbles off his skin. Delighted, he prepares to administer the cure to the people. Just before Yatape could behead Hyogoro, Chopper kicks the sword away. He sprays the antidote sample into Hyogoro's mouth, curing him as well. Then, Miyagi and Tristan load and fire a cannon. The cannonball, named the Chopper Phage, releases a pink mist into the live floor, curing all those who inhale it. Chopper confronts a furious Queen for his abhorrent use of a virus in war. Queen fires bullets at Chopper, but the Pleasures rush to his aid. Since Chopper saved them, the Pleasures decide to join his side, fighting Queen. Chopper transforms into his Monster Point form and strikes Queen. On the rooftop, Luffy rejoins the battle against Kaido. Meanwhile, in the treasure repository, the 9 red scabbards wake up to find their wounds bandaged. They open the door to find, to their surprise, Oden greeting them. Yamato and Shinobu defend Momonosuke from enemy beast pirates, but Momonosuke becomes frustrated by his inability to fend for himself. He accidentally transforms into a pink dragon, shocking Yamato. Momonosuke explains that when he was in Punk Hazard, he broke into a restricted area and ate a fruit, not knowing it was Vegapunk's smile fruit. Yamato comments that his ability is very similar to Kaido's. A CP0 agent explains how this fruit was made. The Punk Hazard scientists, led by Vegapunk, created the fruit by extracting Kaido's lineage factor. However, the experiment was deemed a failure and the fruit was left abandoned in the laboratory following its closure. While in the hallways, Momonosuke somehow reveals that Luffy is losing the battle. On the rooftop, Luffy in the worst generation is failing to land a single hit on Kaido in his hybrid form. In the treasure repository, the 9 red scabbards are happy to see Oden, assuming that he must have escaped the boiling pot and survived. However, Ashura becomes suspicious and slices Oden's face, but he does not bleed. Furthermore, Oden stabs Ashura with his sword, confirming he is an imposter. It is revealed he is a drawing made by Kanjuro. Kanjuro states that he was fatally wounded by Kiku and would not survive the battle, but he plans to kill Momonosuke in his final moments. The 9 red scabbards and Izu fight off the Kanjuro-controlled Oden, but Oden reveals and lights an explosive vest. To save the others, Ashura tackles Oden, crashing through a window before the vest detonates, killing them both. The 9 red scabbards begin to grieve his death. Kanjuro runs through the halls, still looking for Momonosuke, and states that he intends to kill the young lord, then die himself, finally ending his lifelong play. Meanwhile, in another room, a vengeful Orochi knocks over a barrel of oil and sets it aflame, setting the castle on fire. Although beast pirates attempt to put the fires out, Orochi cuts them down, planning to burn down Onigashima as revenge against Kaido. The remaining scabbards run through the hallways but quickly run into Jack, surrounded by fallen mink warriors. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi break away from the group to battle Jack, while the others advance to rescue Momonosuke. Meanwhile, Queen gets up to battle Chopper, but Marco rushes to his aid. They battle Queen together. On the rooftop, Kaido and Big Mom decide to use a joint attack to try and wipe them out. Law could not transport them downstairs because of their haki, and they launch Hakai, unleashing an extremely powerful shockwave. The worst generation members are unable to dodge the attack, but Zoro blocks the attack, protecting the others from the attack but leaving himself gravely injured. Luffy attempts to retaliate, but Kaido evades the attack, preparing to attack him further. Orochi and Fukurokuju continue to set fire to the castle, as they prepare to go to the explosive storage. The remaining 9 red scabbards run through the hallways, worried about the fire when they run into Orochi. Fukurokuju offers to battle them, but Orochi insists on battling them himself, transforming into his Yamato no Orochi form. Despite this, the 9 red scabbards cut off Orochi's heads, and Kinemon cutting off his main head. Orochi collapses. Meanwhile, the 4 emperors continue to battle the worst generation on the rooftop, with Kaido battling Luffy and Big Mom battling the others. Still, Luffy struggles to hurt Kaido, and Big Mom wreaks havoc on the worst generation. The worst generation tries a strategy to take Big Mom down by immobilizing her homies. Law traps Zeus into a metal box created by Kid, Zoro slices Prometheus into several pieces, and Killer distracts Napoleon by attacking him. With all her homies unable to aid her, Law and Zoro push Big Mom over the edge of the island, and she starts falling into the sea. Big Mom falls into the ocean below and starts to drown, but her homies are unable to go rescue her. Kaido aids them, and Prometheus and Napoleon escape Zoro and Killer. While Zeus is still trapped in the box, Prometheus and Napoleon dive into the sea, rescue Big Mom, and carry her back to Onigashima. On the way, Big Mom thanks Prometheus and Napoleon for rescuing her, but gets angry at Zeus for not coming to her aid. Prometheus, no longer wanting to share his power with Zeus, suggests that Big Mom abandons him and creates a new homie to be his girlfriend. She agrees. While they rise to the island, the Heart Pirates watch her from the polar tang, angry that she survived. Kaido prepares to finish off an unconscious Luffy, but Zoro uses the last of his strength to take him down. He uses a 9-sword style attack combined with Haoshoku Haki, slashing Kaido's chest open and reopening his scar. Kaido retaliates, defeating both Zoro and Law with Raimi, Haka. However, Luffy gets up, swearing to defeat Kaido. Luffy's declaration angers Kaido. At the same time, Big Mom takes out a fragment of her soul and gives it to the thundercloud above, creating a new homie to replace Zeus. As her first technique, this new homie fires a powerful lightning bolt at Kid and Killer, hitting them at near point-blank range and shaking the entire island. Meanwhile, Nami, Tama, and Usopp attempt to return to the live floor on Komachio, while Page 1 chases them. Page 1 transforms into his hybrid form and leaps onto Komachio's back, but Komachio begins to speed up, running into a wall at full speed and ramming Page 1 into it. Kid and Killer emerge from the rubble somewhere inside the castle. Big Mom is on the floor directly below them, still in pursuit of Kid. Suddenly they are attacked by Hawkins, and Kid becomes enraged that Hawkins abandoned Kid in favor of Kaido. Kid decides to advance while Killer battles Hawkins. Hawkins uses Goma no So, transforming into a scarecrow-like figure. Back on the roof, Luffy notices that Kaido had the rare power of Haoshoku Haki. He also remembers Hyogoro's lessons on internal destruction Busoshoku Haki, where one directs their haki into the target, damaging the target internally. With this, Luffy strikes Kaido's stomach without touching him, then unleashes a powerful uppercut knocking Kaido over. With this, Luffy tells Law and Zoro to head downstairs while he battles Kaido on his own. When Hera hit Kid and Killer with Fulgora, Kid's imprisonment of Zeus collapsed, finally freeing him. On Luffy's instruction, Law teleports himself, Zoro, and Zeus to a lower level. Meanwhile, Momonosuke's group hides in the castle ceiling. They get in touch with Kinemon, informing him that Momonosuke is safe, giving him their location so they can reunite. Yamato gathers some sewing supplies for their next move. Elsewhere, Usopp, Nami, and Tama are still being chased by Page 1, who rides on Komachio's back. Usopp manages to use his pop greens to knock Page 1 off Komachio's back, but he still fiercely pursues them. However, Big Mom appears, and is initially hostile to Nami and Usopp. However, due to her soft spot for children under the age of 10, she enters mother mode when she sees Tama. She remembers that when she lost her memory, the people of Akabor town took care of her, fed her, and fixed her hair. However, Tama told her devastating news. Since food was stolen from Bakura town, Kaido's subordinates, led by Holedum, set fire to the town. Several people were harmed in the fire, including Tsuru. Page 1 continues to pursue Tama's group, and Tama reminds Big Mom that he is one of Kaido's subordinates. Angry over Okabor town's destruction, Big Mom strikes Page 1 with a haki-imbued punch to the neck. He collapses on the ground in front of Ulti, defeated. The grouped scabbards head to Momonosuke to protect him from Kanjuro. Kiku states that the pain from her arm was far less than the pain of losing her brother Izu. The scabbards decide to split up to assist various areas of the battlefield, but Kiku remains with Kinemon to pursue Kanjuro. Nekomamushi is finally informed about Pedro's sacrifice and death, now knowing that his killer, Perospero, is present on Onigashima. To avenge Pedro, Nekomamushi goes to assist Wanda and Carrot in battling Perospero. Yamato decides to run off with a decoy of Momonosuke, diverting the Marys' attention from the real Momonosuke. In the crawl space, Momonosuke hears Luffy's voice and senses that Luffy is battling Kaido, one-on-one. On the rooftop, they are battling fiercely, but neither person could hit the other. On the castle's second floor, Sanji carries a heavily bandaged Zoro on his back, fighting off swarms of gifters and pleasures, while the latter heals from his injuries. On the live floor, Chopper battles Queen, but Perospero intervenes by firing candy arrows at Chopper. This angers Queen. Meanwhile, Ulti decides to avenge her defeated brother by attacking Big Mom. She brutally beats Komechio down to the ground, and when Tama attempts to stop her, Ulti strikes her in the face. Angry that Ulti assaulted a young girl, Nami and Big Mom both decide to turn on her and fight her directly. Nami attacks Ulti with her Klimatect, striking her with lightning. Sanji carries and protects Zoro as he heals, angry that he had to carry someone with a lower bounty than him. He remembers how this happened. Previously, Law teleported Zoro and the others downstairs and ran into Sanji on the way. Law instructed Sanji to take care of Zoro while his group ran off to another area. Sanji begrudgingly took Zoro to another room and bandaged his wounds. Back in the present, Sanji continues to carry Zoro down the halls when he encounters Kawamatsu and Izu. On Zoro's advice, they go to the live floor. Back in the castle, Ulti gets back up and attacks Nami, grabbing her arm. However, Big Mom's homies, Prometheus, Napoleon, and Hera, combine into a single weapon. They use Mazer Ho, unleashing a powerful beam striking Ulti's abdomen. Ulti collapses. Zeus watches from the corner, eager to rejoin his master, but Big Mom approaches him and states that he is no longer needed in her crew. On the rooftop, Luffy and Kaido continue to fight. They clash, destroying the floor under them, and Luffy is nearly thrown off the island. Luckily, he uses a Gear 3rd technique. He restabilizes himself on the island. Luffy declares he will restore the Kozuki family and become the Pirate King. However, Kaido eventually triumphs, knocking Luffy unconscious and throwing him off the island. Kaido watches as Luffy falls into the ocean, remarking that though Luffy coated himself in Haoshoku Haki, he was still sloppy and unable to wield it perfectly. He declares that Luffy would never become Joy Boy. Inside the palace, Big Mom rejects Zeus, no longer wanting him in her crew. She instructs Hera to eat Zeus so she can gain more power from his soul. Knowing that Big Mom is trying to take his life, Zeus attempts to reconcile with Nami, but Nami refuses to forgive her. So, Zeus rebels for one final time against his mother. Big Mom removes his soul before feeding his lifeless body to Hera. Hera receives a surge in energy from eating Zeus, and Nami's group decides to leave. As Tama also fled with them, Big Mom loses her compassion for her. Big Mom attacks Tama, but Kid appears and confronts her. Meanwhile, on the live floor, Queen and Perospero battle against and Chopper and the defected Beast's pirates. Chopper gets the upper hand by slamming Queen's body into the floor and throwing him into a wall, but Queen is unharmed while Chopper is left exhausted. On the 3rd floor, Yamato continues to run through the halls with his fake Momonosuke, defeating a group of gifters who fall for his decoy. The real Momonosuke is waiting in the crawlspace for backup. While he is in hiding, he reads the Odins, which tells of his adventures as a pirate. However, Momonosuke suddenly detects another mysterious voice. Unbeknownst to him, he is watched by another Mary. Having located him, Bao Huang reports Momonosuke's location to Kaido, who decides to personally pursue him. As Momonosuke continues to react to the mysterious voice, Shinobu begins to panic, allowing Kinemon and Kikunojo to find them. Meanwhile, on the live floor, Chopper continues to protect everyone from Perospero's arrows. As he does so, he thinks back to a conversation he had with Kaser Clown, where the scientist offered to improve Chopper's Rumbleball. However, the improvement comes with a side effect, which Chopper agrees to. Back in the present, Chopper charges at Queen, but is forced to dodge a light beam, allowing Queen to regroup on the ground. He fends off an arrow wave from Perospero and is attacked again by Queen, but is able to force him off. However, as he attempts to dodge, he's grabbed by Queen again, forcing himself out and continuing to struggle. Suddenly, Bao Huang announces the end of the duel between Luffy and Kaido, declaring Kaido as the winner. Across the island, various allies and enemies react to the news, and Bao Huang announces that Kaido will re-enter the castle and begin cleaning up the remaining pirates and samurais. She offers the attackers the option to surrender and join the Beast's pirates, though nobody accepts. Meanwhile, Kanjuro arrives to Momonosuke's hiding spot and creates a new Oden disguise. As he enters the hiding spot, both Momonosuke and Shinobu fall for his disguise, but Kinemon and Kikunojo realize he is really Kanjuro, holding the other two back. Kikunojo prepares to fight, cursing him for killing Ashura Doji, but she is stopped by her memories of Oden. Kanjuro takes advantage of her delay and stabs her, with Kikunojo falling to the ground. With Kikunojo out of the fight, Kinemon and Kanjuro prepare to duel. Kanjuro creates a stage for the fight, and Kinemon angrily charges at him, forcing the actor back. The two think back on their time together, and Kanjuro declares that he needs to lose Kinemon, his best friend on the stage, before falling to the ground, defeated. With the fight over, Kinemon returns to Momonosuke and Shinobu, but Kaido suddenly appears before them, smashing through the ceiling. Kinemon prepares to fight the Emperor as Shinobu and Momonosuke escape, and he is crushed by Kaido's Kanabo, while Momonosuke watches. As Luffy sinks into the ocean, Chopper continues to battle Queen, but is demotivated from his captain's defeat. Across Onigashima, various samurai and allies react to Bao Huang's announcement, with some reacting like Chopper, and some refusing to believe it. Meanwhile, Onigashima approaches Wano country proper, finally reaching the mainland. As the samurai begin to give up in their fight, the 9 red scabbards continue to fight, stating they won't stop until they defeat Kaido. Izu points out how they can't confirm Luffy's death, and Kawamatsu remarks that even the possibility destroyed morale. However, Sanji refuses to even consider that Luffy lost, getting angry at the samurai for thinking that they might have lost. Back on the live floor, Queen has gotten the upper hand against Chopper, and Prospero continues to bombard the samurai with arrows. They encourage everybody to give up fighting, and Queen is about to bite Chopper. However, he's stopped by Sanji. Sanji's kick is hard enough to send Queen's head spinning, causing him to intercept all of Prospero's arrows, as well as send Prospero himself flying. He congratulates Chopper for holding off Queen enough for him to arrive, and tells him to continue trusting in Luffy, before handing him Zoro and telling to take care of the injured swordsman. Sanji resolves to fight Queen, and the samurai look on in awe, noting how he doesn't give up despite his captain having been defeated. Meanwhile, above the first floor, Kaido easily defeats Kinemon. Despite his injuries, Kinemon continues to stand up and stab Kaido, allowing Shinobu and Momonosuke time to run. As he struggles, Kinemon thinks back to when they were sent to the present day. He thinks back to when he and Momonosuke pretended to be father and son, and encourages him to continue living. However, he is stabbed again by Kaido, collapsing to the floor. As Shinobu and Momonosuke run, he also thinks back to his time with Kinemon. He resolves himself to tell the Ninja Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance members that Luffy isn't dead, and speaks into one of the Marys, announcing it across the island. He declares that Luffy is speaking to him, and encourages the allies to continue fighting until Luffy returns to the island. Luffy will defeat Kaido. The people located on the live floor begin to cheer, and are reinvigorated in their fights. However, Momonosuke and Shinobu are still being followed by Kaido and are forced to flee, being thrown outside the Skull Dome. However, before Kaido can crush them, Shinobu is able to destroy the floor using her abilities, and the pair fall into the ocean. Bao Huang and a horse gifter decide to announce their fall, hoping to demoralize the remaining samurai. Meanwhile, Nami, Usopp, and Tama continue heading towards the live floor, hoping to allow Tama to take control of all the Smile users who have eaten her dango. As they talk, Nami's Climattact responds, shocking the trio. Elsewhere, Kid prepares to battle Big Mom, when Law suddenly arrives. He offers to form a temporary alliance with Kid to defeat Big Mom. Meanwhile, in the Flower Capital, the residents of Wano celebrate the Fire Festival. Tenguyama, Hitetsu, and Toko walk through the town together, and he explains the festival to her. Toko wonders if her father is watching them, and Hitetsu responds that he's sure he is. Back in Onigashima, the CP0 present assess the ongoing battle. They notice how nobody surrendered even after Luffy's supposed defeat, and count 5,000 soldiers who can no longer fight. With the pleasures and gifters present on the live floor switching sides, the Beast's pirates now have 20,000 combatants, and the Ninja Pirate Mink Samurai Alliance have 7,000. Back with Nami, Usopp, and Tama, the group is trying to identify why Nami's Climattact can suddenly speak. Usopp wonders if might secretly be a genius, but the Climattact responds that it's actually Zeus. He reveals that when Nami tried to feed him black balls, he was pressed into her Climattact. Nami tries to shake him out of the baton, but he points out that he can't leave without Big Mom's power, so she gives up and continues running. The trio finally arrive at the live floor, exiting a door directly behind Bao Huang. As she's about to announce Momonosuke's fall from Onigashima, she is alerted to their presence, which distracts Usopp and allows Ulti to attack him from behind. She grabs Tama, angry that she's been able to make Beast's Pirates members switch sides, and prepares to attack her. However, she's attacked by Nami and Zeus, who can now extend and transform the climb attack. Usopp is able to attack Ulti from behind, separating her and Tama, which allows Nami to prepare a lightning strike without fear of hurting Tama. Meanwhile, the Heart Pirates hear a voice underwater, finding Luffy sinking. They travel to save him, wondering how they can even hear his voice. At the same time, Yamato reaches the roof, seeing Kaido at the edge of the island and announcing that he's cutting ties. The Heart Pirates find a sinking Luffy, positioning their submarine underneath him and pushing him to the surface. They begin trying to treat him, forcing the water he swallowed out of his stomach. Meanwhile, Shinobu and Momonosuke fall from Onigashima. Shinobu uses a kite and the pair glide to the Wano mainland. However, when they land, Momonosuke bursts into tears, worried over the Kinemon and Kiku. Back on Onigashima, Ulti is terrorizing Tama when she's suddenly attacked by Nami. Zeus offers to send a lightning blast, but Nami argues that it would hurt Tama. However, Usopp is able to separate her, and Nami attacks Ulti with a lightning blast. She tries to dodge the strike, but Zeus redirects himself to hit her, knocking the Togarapo unconscious. Panicking, Bao Huang accidentally announces Ulti's and Page One's defeats over the Mary system, causing panic across the gifters and pleasures. Taking advantage of her panicking, Usopp incapacitates Bao Huang, informing Tama that she works as a transmitter. As the allies across the island are overwhelmed with numbers, Tama speaks into the transmitter, converting the gifters tamed by her power into allies. Elsewhere, Yamato informs Kaido of his decision to cut their familiar ties. Kaido tries to persuade him otherwise, stating that he defeated both Luffy and Momonosuke, but Yamato refuses to change his mind. Yamato declares his intention to set out to sea, stating that he will force Kaido to leave Wano. However, Kaido refuses to be a pirate elsewhere, stating he must stay in Wano. The two clash, with Yamato intending on forcing Kaido to remain on the rooftop until Luffy returns. Across Onigashima, the gifters who have eaten Tama's dango begin to switch sides, attacking former allies. Ameri reports the mass betrayal to CP0 as the combat devolves even further into chaos. The Beast Pirates react in angry confusion, while the Alliance members welcome the change. Nami, Tama, and Usopp celebrate their success, drawing attention from Queen. However, as he tries to shoot them, he is attacked by Sanji, instead shooting the inside of his mouth. He welcomes the son of Judge, angering Sanji, and reveals that he is a former member of the science group Mads. As he prepares to fight, Queen reveals he is a cyborg and enters his human beast form. The surrounding Beast Pirates panic at his transformation, but Sanji ignores him, confirming with Chopper that Zoro will recover. As he turns to ask, however, he notices that Chopper has entered a new transformation, the baby Gigi, as a result of his Rumble Ball transformation. However, as they talk, Sanji is attacked by Queen, and he prepares to face off. Chopper begins explaining his new form to Tristan, and Sanji begins fighting Queen. His explanation complete, Chopper turns to helping Zoro. Miyagi informs him about a powerful instant recovery drug from Zoo. However, should he take it, his pain will be doubled when the drug wears off. Chopper decides not to give Zoro the drug, but Zoro insists on receiving it, stating that he wants to return to the fight. Elsewhere, the CP0 agents calculate the traitorous gifters, estimating 300 people switch sides. Meanwhile, Nami, Tama, and Usopp try to find a safe space to hide, having completed their mission. As they run through the halls, they are attacked by a group of gifters. However, they're suddenly saved by Daifugo and joined by Speed and Gazelman, who offer lifts to the group. Gazelman also informs them that he found Komichio unconscious. Elsewhere, Jinbei and Who's Who begin to fight. Among his attacks, Who's Who incorporates Soru, Rankyaku, and Tekai, prompting Jinbei to remark that he's using a world government fighting style. He brings up a story about a CP9 agent escaping from prison, and Who's Who confirms that he's the agent. As the two continue fighting, Who's Who begins explaining his past as a government agent, though Jinbei has trouble understanding how the story is relevant to him. However, Who's Who explains that 13 years ago, he was tasked with protecting a devil fruit. The fruit was stolen, and later eaten by Monkey D. Luffy. Speed carries Tama, Nami, and Usopp through Onigashima, with Gazelman and Daifugo following close behind. The headliners defend the trio and promise to recover Komichio. Tama thanks them and declares themselves friends, prompting Zeus to ask Nami if he can become her attendant again. However, she declines, and he begins asking for increasingly low positions, none of which she accepts. He apologizes for his actions, and Nami accepts, asking him to be her partner. Elsewhere, the present CP0 agents speculate that 2,000 soldiers switch sides due to Tama's abilities, which after discounting 2,000 beast pirates due to injury, leaves the field at 16,000 versus 9,000. However, they remark that it has no effect on them, noting that they only need to confirm Who's Who's death as punishment for leaving CP9. Meanwhile, Jimbei and Who's Who continue their discussion. Jimbei asks why Who's Who left the world government and became a pirate, but Who's Who just responds that Jimbei functionally did the same thing. However, he insulted Luffy at the same time, annoying Jimbei. The two argue over their opinions of Luffy, with Who's Who saying that he was disappointed by his fight with Kaido and Jimbei, stating that Luffy will return. In the ocean, the Heart Pirates continue trying to resuscitate Luffy. Who's Who states that he will simply kill Luffy, and Jimbei promises to defeat Who's Who instead. He thinks back to his past with Luffy, swearing to fight as the helmsman of the Straw Hat Pirates. Who's Who begins repeatedly attacking Jimbei, but the fishman just dodges his attacks. Who's Who attempts to reinitiate small talk with Jimbei, but he declines, and Who's Who offers to instead talk after chewing up Jimbei's limbs. He charges at Jimbei, but Jimbei catches and throws him, crashing him into the ground. Who's Who once again initiates conversation, asking Jimbei to listen while he tells him a story. He tells Jimbei that while he was imprisoned, he was mockingly told to pray for salvation from the sun god Nika, a legendary warrior of ancient times who would supposedly free slaves. While Who's Who wasn't convinced of Nika's existence, he was desperate enough to continue believing in him, praying for any help in his imprisonment. Jimbei asks how this information is relevant to him, and Who's Who brings up the past slavery of Sun Pirates members and fishmen as a whole, asking Jimbei for more information about Nika. He informs Jimbei that the guard who told him about Nika was eventually executed, and asks if it's dangerous to even know of his existence. He begins once again bombarding Jimbei with attacks, asking if he knows a lot about slavery due to being a fishman. However, Jimbei just catches Who's Who's arms, stating that he has nothing to tell him. He breaks Who's Who's fingers and steps on his tail, destroying Who's Who in the arena behind him with a single punch. Who's Who flies backwards into the wall, collapsing on top of him, and Jimbei tells him that if he wants to investigate history, then he needs to be prepared for what he'll find. Kaido and Yamato clash on the Onigashima rooftop, as Yamato attempts to cut ties with his father. However, Kaido refuses to accept it, instead trying to convince Yamato to become the shogun of Wano under Kaido. Yamato states that he will continue to believe in Luffy, and that he will stall Kaido until he returns. He transforms into his human beast form, vowing to protect Wano. On the live floor, Queen continues to attack Sanji, bragging about his powers as a cyborg. However, Sanji argues that he can only use what he's given, angering Queen. He begins shooting beams at Sanji, forcing him to continue dodging. Sanji remarks that Frankie would like Queen's laser technology, only further annoying Queen. As Sanji continues to dodge the lasers, Zoro convinces Chopper and Miyagi to give him the miracle drug. Elsewhere, gifters under Tama's influence begin assisting Frankie, driving off the Beast's pirates who were surrounding him. Sasaki informs the gifters that they're committing treason and charges at Frankie, but he's able to catch him and throw him upwards into the ceiling. The two realize that they're both very durable, with Sasaki transforming into his human beast form. Back on the roof, Kaido continues trying to convince Yamato to stay by his side. He remarks that he didn't intend for Yamato to eat his fruit, and Yamato responds that he's also mad since he can no longer swim. Back in the right brain tower, Sasaki and Frankie both draw their swords. Frankie instructs the surrounding gifters to go help others, but Sasaki suddenly begins spinning his propeller frills, confusing Frankie. Sasaki begins to fly, charging forward and sending the gifters flying. Frankie is forced on the defensive, preparing the general shield in anticipation of Sasaki's next charge. However, Sasaki accidentally spins his frills the wrong direction, throwing himself backwards instead. He follows up with a charge forward, successfully blowing one of the thrusters on the General Frankie's shoulder. However, Frankie managed to grab Sasaki, suplexing him into the ground. In the ocean, the Heart Pirates continue trying to wake up Luffy. He finally regains consciousness and begins demanding meat. Yamato and Kaido continue to duel on the rooftop, with Yamato officially refusing Kaido's offer to become shogun. Meanwhile, Frankie points out Sasaki's stomach cut despite his toughness, attempting to slash his stomach again. However, Sasaki avoids it and the two begin a sword fight. Frankie is eventually forced to run, launching a general cannon at Sasaki. Sasaki avoids the attack, charging at Frankie, but in the process makes himself vulnerable for a Frankie radical beam to the stomach. Back on the rooftop, Kaido laments Yamato having eaten the Inu Inu no Mi model, Okuchi no Makami, and asks once again for Yamato to become shogun under him. Yamato refuses once again and begins shooting ice at Kaido, though the latter counters the ice shots with a blast of fire. Inside Onigashima, Brook and Robin walk through fog, with Nico Olvia suddenly appearing before them. Saul and Clover quickly follow suit, gesturing towards Robin. She reminisces her time with the three of them, remembering their deaths. However, she realizes soon enough that those are simply mere illusions, knocking away Nuri Onna, Kunyun, and Tenjo Sagari, who were embodying these illusions. As Robin runs from Black Maria's gifters, she is joined by Brook, who relieves that she was not tricked by the illusion mist. However, they are suddenly attacked by Black Maria herself, who admonishes Robin for attacking her own mother. She calls them cruel for attacking their friends and family, but the duo ignore her, and Robin remarks that Brook was immune to the mist as well. He explains that he saw his old crew in the mist. Together, the old friends played Bink's sake for the first time in 50 years, as Brook thought back to his time as one of their companions. As he thought back, he was attacked by the Beast's Pirates member disguised as Yorkie, though he was able to dodge the attack in time. He reveals that he was simply reminded that his old crewmates are dead as he defeats the impersonators one by one. Continuing his conversation with Robin, Brook explains that while being stuck in the Florian Triangle for 50 years, he constantly wished his crewmates had been alive, even hallucinating that they were. However, every time he imagined them, the fantasy was broken, and he was forced to reconcile with their deaths. As the two continue running, Robin points out that they have a lot in common, and Brook thinks back to his time joining the Straw Hat Pirates. While Robin and Brook keep running, Black Maria swipes at them, burning the floor behind them. She shoots Silk to the roof and jumps above them, forcing them to suddenly stop. She begins spinning Juan Yudo around, causing Robin to grab onto the ceiling and lift the two straw hats off the floor. Robin advises Black Maria to stop spreading fire, but Black Maria ignores her, asking her to surrender instead. Brook suddenly realizes that Juan Yudo is a living being, sending his soul through him and freezing him, stopping his flames. Black Maria angrily swipes at the ceiling, causing the straw hats to fall to the floor. As the two from their fall, Black Maria tries to state that Sanji sold out Robin, hence the reason he called for help, but Robin ignores her. Brook leaves Black Maria to Robin, promising to defeat her gifters instead. Once Brook leaves, Robin argues with Black Maria's description of Sanji and begins fighting back in earnest. Robin creates a giant version of herself, grabbing Black Maria with multiple extra sets of giant hands. However, Black Maria begins slicing at the arms, causing injuries to form on Robin herself. Noticing Robin receive the injuries, Black Maria launches multiple tendrils of thread, blocking the movement of Robin's enlarged limbs. Back on mainland, Momonosuke and Shinobu watch as Onigashima flies more inland. They suddenly notice the polar tang at the shore, with Luffy loudly shouting for meat. He quickly eats through all the Heart Pirates' provisions, while still asking for more, when Momonosuke and Shinobu run over to him. The Heart Pirates explain how they found Luffy, and Momonosuke explains what happened to Kikunojo and Kinemon. Momonosuke begins crying, and Luffy yells at him to stop, stating he'll be the next shogun. He then begins yelling for meat again, as Caribou arrives behind a shipwrecked ship, offering meat to the Heart Pirates. Meanwhile, Luffy asks Momonosuke to transform into a dragon and bring him back up to Onigashima. Black Maria shoots her webs at Robin's enlarged form, grabbing her arms and stopping their movement. She forces Robin's arms open, undoing her defenses, and jumps on top of her to begin punching her. Eventually, Robin cancels her technique, recreating her giant arms behind Black Maria. However, Black Maria is able to block the attack, burning the webs she used and surrounding Robin in the process. Black Maria begins swiping at Robin, forcing her to evade, until she ends up caught in one of Black Maria's webs. Black Maria states that she's only getting payback for Robin punching her earlier, and she hits Robin again, throwing her into another set of webs. As she continues to beat Robin, she berates her, stating that she's only useful as somebody who can read the poneglyphs. Black Maria's insults remind Robin of her childhood and time on the run, and Brook advises Black Maria to run before it's too late. As Robin continues to think back, she remembers a training session with the Revolutionary Army, during which she learned a new slapping technique that applies fishman karate techniques. She creates another giant arm, slapping the ceiling above her and crashing debris above Black Maria, putting out the fire in the process. Free from the webs, Robin creates another giant body, this one in the shape of a demon. She generates more arms, trapping Black Maria in a grappling hold. She then knocks her unconscious with Clutch. Hearing Black Maria's scream, her gifters try to see through Brooke's ice wall. They realize the Black Maria has lost, and while in a panic, are swiftly defeated by Brooke. Back on the Wano mainland, Luffy eats the food provided by Caribou. As he eats, he reassures the Heart Parities that their captain is alive, and Momonosuke tries to convince a shinobu to transform him into an adult. Ameri watches Black Maria, the last remaining Tobirapo, face defeat. Raizo enters battle against Fukurokuju, but Fukurokuju uses his long earlobes as whips, knocking him to the ground. Killer battles Hawkins and manages to slash him, but Hawkins' Devil Fruit ability allows him to redirect the damage onto other people, leaving himself unharmed. When Killer stabs Hawkins, he instead injures Kid, hurting his battle with Big Mom. Killer realizes that he cannot harm Hawkins without first killing his own captain. On the live floor, Sanji is left to battle against both King and Queen while Zoro continues to heal, waiting for the drug to take effect. Prospero attempts to sabotage Sanji by shooting him with his candy bow, but Nekomamushi appears and strikes him out of the castle. King and Queen get the upper hand and strike Sanji down. While Queen brutally punishes the defected gifters, King decides to pursue and attack Zoro while he is incapacitated. Although Chopper's group attempts to take Zoro away, King stops them, with the drug having yet to take effect. King intercepts Chopper's group, which is carrying Zoro. Sanji sees this and tries to defend against King, but is shot by Queen's laser. Marco manages to block King's attack and the two square off. Marco talks of a race that could ignite themselves, and once lived on top of the Red Line and says that he didn't expect to meet one in King. King and Queen are prepared to fight Marco, but he surrenders seeing that Zoro has recovered from his injuries, thanks to the drug given to him by Miyagi. Zoro deflects Queen's attack. He and Sanji then proceed to attack the two All-Stars. Marco spaces out as he watches the fight. He recalls his conversation with Whitebeard about how Mary Juaz used to be the land of gods. He is then saved by Izu when some beast pirates shoot at Marco while he is in a daze. During their fight, Sanji notices something different in his body from when he put on his raid suit a while back. Queen notices this too, as he claims that Sanji must also be a cyborg like Judge's other children, since no human can ignite themselves unless he's a Lunarian. As the four continue to battle, Hyogoro and Kawamatsu notice Zoro's similarities with the former daimyo of Ringo, Shimotsuki Ushimaru, who was a descendant of the god of the blade, Shimotsuki Ryuma, from the way he stands, his one eye, down to his swordplay. They feel that the fact that he returned Shusui to Wano was fate. Meanwhile in Tokage Port, Luffy regains his strength and looks for Momonosuke. Shinobu responds to Luffy as two giant eyes appear behind the shadows. The castle is slowly being engulfed by fire. A large number of beast pirates quickly move towards the live floor where Sanji, Zoro, King, and Queen are fighting. Hyogoro and Kawamatsu see this and stop them from interfering with the fight.